news today, a two-bit expose of the same old story that I heard yesterday. Yeah, cause the headlines, man, they all just go to plan. They're framed and fixed and rigged, and you know they're all just spam. So buckle down, look right in, and close its way under your skin. Just got about the things they spout, and you should give me that good news, because I'm tired of the same old shit.
Ah, yes, the good news, because we're tired of the same old shit. Welcome in 21.6 The Net. This is The Grounds. No Giles, just Jones. Life happens. Sometimes you can get in, sometimes you can't. And, well, this is one of the times that he can't, and that's okay. So what's that mean? Well, that means for the next, I don't know, hour, you're going to be listening to me just ramble on about various things. Not really. I've got some topics that we can talk about. Of course, The Grounds brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at www.reesesbarkery.com. This is a Barkery and Pautique right here in McHenry, 815-363-PAWS, P-A-W-S. Holistic dog food, good, just fresh stuff, kibble for all your pets, cats, dogs, the whole works. They are great. Check them out at www.reesesbarkery.com and take your fur babies there because they deserve a good life as well. Well, good morning. You know, I was sitting here just 2 or 3 minutes ago and I said, you know what? The hell with him. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. I said, you know, I'm not going to, but I've been up this morning, just had fun on the Power Hour playlist. And of course, The Grounds, the most unique show that we have here on 21.6 The Net. So I'm sure somebody's going to pop in to be my co-host today here on The Grounds. You'll see Uncle Pete down there. He says, good morning. Here is the StreamYard link. Go ahead, copy that link, throw it in your URL, follow the directions, and you too can be part of The Grounds. So, who really knows is maybe what we want to talk about today. So, here's the deal. Why is it that we as people try to, well, why do we depend so much on other people? So Scott's one of my dear friends. I absolutely love him and his family, and he runs several businesses. He also owns, rental properties and whatnot. So shit can happen, right? And for a moment, I wanted to get pissed at him. I wanted to be like, Scott, Jesus, oh man, we have this every Friday, right? And then I asked myself, I'm like, well, why am I getting mad at him? Life happens. It happens to me too, right? And it just got me to thinking, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna go ahead and let's just play around here with some things this morning. Of course, talking an hour by myself is always difficult. But look who's just gonna jump in here. Our good friend Gary. Gary, good morning.
It's good morning to you, and it's a
Yeah,
good evening from
good evening
here.
to you, sir. How are you, brother?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Good. Hey, you know, I just kind of chit-chatting a little bit there with myself, but life happens to people and things happen, and Scott does so much and he gives so much back, and he's like, "Hey, I can't get in this morning." And I was like, "Ah." And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna screw it and not do the show. But I'm like, you know what, this is too fun of a show. We have too many people out there, and I can probably poke a bear or two along the way. But do you find yourself, Gary, getting upset when life happens to somebody else and it kind of throws a wrench into your plans?
Well, I guess when we were younger, we tend to get more upset easily. But now at this age, it's kind of like, yeah, well, shit happens, and
Yeah.
we just mosey on along, and we're not gonna let anything get in our way. I mean, life's too short now to get upset over all these things.
Right. It's so true. It's and that's what I said. I go, well, you know what? Heck, let's have a little fun. I'm here at the station anyway, uh,
Yep.
and we might as well roll a show and put it out there. How are things in Singapore?
Yeah, well, things are really picking up fast. We are fully open to international travelers as long as you are vaccinated. You can arrive and your country is designated as a safe country. You're a safe vaccination country. You can arrive here without any quarantine. You just arrive and go straight about to your business.
Nice, nice.
And the music scene is opening up as of April 19th, which is after next week. The entire nightlife scene in Singapore will be opened up fully. Everything.
So at this point, there's like a curfew over there. There's been.
No, okay. So all businesses at this point, all businesses are fully open
Hmm.
except for nightlife businesses. So the pubs and all these things, they're still open, but they can only do up to 10:30 at night, and then everything stops. But for the other establishments which are not pubs or things like restaurants, cafes, as of 2 weeks ago, as of a week ago, hey, you can now sell alcohol drinks way beyond 10:30. In fact, there's no more limit. So the nightlife part, which is the karaoke, well, we still have karaoke clubs here, which are very
Yep.
popular. The pubs and the things those which have a public entertainment license and which usually runs at night. At this current moment, they are not open yet, but as of April 19th, they will be open fully with no more restrictions.
Wow.
The prevailing group size in Singapore is now 10 people. So uh, if you go to a pub, you can sit a group of 10. You just need to maintain 1 meter distancing between groups. That's all. There's no limit on the if your establishment has less than a capacity has a less sorry if your establishment has a capacity of less than 1,000 people maximum, you can fill it up fully with no percentage restrictions. You can fill it up to 1,000.
Huh.
Anything above 1,000, I'm sorry, you're only up to 75% capacity, which means for very, 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 very large musical performances, they can only fill up to 75%. But for myself, being one that's from the underground scene, in the underground scene, you have less than 200 people. Hey, you can go hog wild on it and fill up the whole studio with the full capacity.
Right, right. That's
Yeah,
awesome. And
yeah.
and your cases over there are next.
We're probably only getting about 4,000, 5,000 cases. Fatalities is probably like maybe two, three a day.
Yeah, so not bad.
And it's generally of a higher age group where they are already immunocompromised. Generally, the fate of health. I mean, we have no more outdoor mask mandate. The mask is only for indoors and in public transport. But if you're walking out there and things like that, you can just feel free to take off your mask. So hell, we're not even bothering about the cases. I mean, yeah, the government does report the cases on a daily basis, but I think 80% of us can't really be bothered about the information
Yeah,
because we know that the few thousand cases are probably just there's no symptoms or asymptomatic or just very slight fever and that's it. That is what is reported. I
yeah,
can assure you there are many, many thousands which are not reported and they still go about their business as per usual. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
everything's going back to normal.
here's the funny thing is the funny thing is I was in a training for work, and there's one of my coworkers has bronchitis, right? Which
Right?
in the past, in the past before 2020, who cares? Bronchitis, okay,
Yep.
you got a little cough, whatever.
Correct. Yeah. This is a lung.
And so we're sitting there, and I'm sitting behind her, 4 feet, 5 feet behind this lady. She's just sitting there coughing and coughing and coughing, and I'm like, oh, I get up and I move, and we're in this training for 2 hours, but I'm thinking, man, would before I would have just been annoyed by her cough, but now I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, oh," you know, and we've kind of gotten so used to in the workplace, if you're sick, stay home, you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and bronchitis is something that wouldn't stop anybody, from going to work.
Yeah.
All my
Correct.
adult life
Correct.
up until, up until the pandemic. And I was
Yep.
just sitting there and I'm like thinking, how rude is this lady? I don't know, if she's got COVID or not. And, what the heck? Hey, Lisa, good morning. And, uh, and
Hey,
so,
morning, Lisa.
and so I'm just sitting there. And again, it kind of bumps into, what I'm talking about is why do we, then I'm distracted and I'm getting upset at this lady. I didn't know she had bronchitis. I don't know if other people in the room did either. I mean, a few did, but I'm just sitting here and I'm like, man, why, takes away from my training. But here's somebody, earning a living for her family that I'm like, you know what? This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts. And why is it that I'm getting mad at people? I find myself getting irritated with people, I guess, when it's none of my business or has nothing to do with me, really. But
Well,
I find,
I guess bronchitis is also in some ways affected by weather. So I know, I mean, you guys get extreme cold weather as compared to us over here, so that might also
yeah,
be a factor in bronchitis. Uh, here 20, 26, 24, 23 degrees Celsius is probably the lowest we'll go.
yeah, right. So it's always beautiful there on the equator, right? It's
Yeah.
well, you get a rainy season, and that probably kicks up a lot of allergens and stuff too, probably. But
No. Okay, so I think it's pretty common. I understand it's pretty common in countries where you have a very large agriculture or natural scenery thing. So I guess hay fever,
yeah,
pollen season is really, yeah. But here nah, there's no hay here. Sorry, there's no hay in Singapore because there's no you don't really have farms here in Singapore.
yeah,
You have zoos with and some small little petting zoos with with a horse, a cow, and goats and things like that. But yeah, but no, there's no farming industry here where you rear cows and bulls and things like that. So
yeah.
no, there's no cut grass here over here.
Yeah. Lisa says Mother Nature is having a bipolar episode here in the Midwest, affecting us sinus people.
Oh yeah, yes, yes, it's that time of the year also for yeah for the pollen and everything to go crazy over in your side of the world.
That's it. Of course, Bob, good morning. He says, good morning, Kent, from a quote by Steve Maraboli. When you're just existing, life happens to you. When you're truly living, you happen to life and you lead. Yeah, yeah. So, Scott's not here, of course. He's taking care of some business. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure life is mad at him because he's happening to life for sure. That's the way he runs. It's awesome. Shayna says big dumps of vax trial data is being uncovered after being forced by the courts. They were fully aware natural immunity was equal to or better. They also saw adverse reactions that would be problematic to mention. Hey, good morning. Yeah, and we can actually talk about that too. Um, we were in a worldwide pandemic, and um, if and here's the question that I ask people, if the WHO, if the CDC, if these places had not taken any action, and they were like, well, you know what,
You
we're
guys go figure out.
yeah, we'll let people's immune systems go after it, which a lot did, right? I mean, because it took a while for the vaccines to
Yeah,
come out. How mad would we be at our leaders, at our scientists, to just go, I can't believe you guys just sat there and let all these people die. I mean, we tried something, right? And that's what science is. There are trials, there are errors. That's how you find out what works and what doesn't. And when you're in a quote unquote pandemic that you don't know much about, that you're in the test trial at that point, right?
yeah. All right. But
And the interesting thing is, yes, hey, there have been a lot. It's always funny depending on what side the narrative you're on. A lot of people are like, hey, but look at all these deaths. Oh, okay, but look at the billions, and it's with a B, of people who've been vaccinated who haven't died, who
yeah,
it probably did help or has
yeah,
helped to lessen. to lessen. I think where we get stuck on is, again, words have meanings. It's not, it's a booster, really. It's not
Vaccination, yeah.
you know but talk to me about, and here in America especially, we have a lot of irate people, and people who push back against mandates and things like that. You're taking our freedoms away. And I sit here who lost a very dear friend and business partner from the illness, right? um and so it is what it is, right? And so I can look at it and say, hey, I'm fully vaccinated. I'm not boosted, but I'm fully vaccinated. I also had COVID-19. So guess what?
You probably now have a much better immunity system
Correct.
against it than me, which I haven't had yet. Which fortunately have not had it yet.
Yeah. At least it said, I don't think many questions were about the vaccinations as it was about the force and penalties paid if you didn't choose it. Well, talk to me about the penalties. I don't know. Because I know a lot of people who aren't vaccinated. So
Well, here in Singapore, I mean, so vaccination is not compulsory here in Singapore. You have a choice not to take the vaccination. However, then there will be certain restrictions which are not placed on the vaccination, but in the outside. So, like for example, if you're not vaccinated, you cannot dine in at restaurants and cafes. You can still go out and buy your food, fine, but you have to take away. You can't dine in. You can't even eat. You can't even go in and sit down at the local McDonald's. You can only buy takeaway food. So sure, we are not, nobody's been forced to take it, but then you will have to live with the restriction because the majority of people would like it to be that way. So if you are the minority, then you are the minority. Sure,
Yeah.
we also have our anti-vaxxers here. Right now there is there was a group here known as Healing the Divide. And among many other things, they are also anti-vaxxers. So when this whole thing came about, and they were pretty vocal on it on Facebook, although they are minority, using social media and things like that. And then the husband and wife group. So right now they are in pretty deep doo-doo, because what happened is they worked together with with one of their members who was a doctor, and he's a general practitioner. He has, I think, about three clinics, and he was actually falsifying vaccination records through his clinic. So, I mean, of all the things that you want to do, that's probably not the smartest thing to do here in Singapore, at least. So, he's been suspended. He's under investigation. His assistant is also under investigation. The whole group is now under investigation, and they'll probably be charged with providing false information and fake vaccination records.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, if you're anti-vaxxer, why do you still need the vaccination cert? Kind of
Right.
ironic, right? I mean, you could just go out and say, "How I'm anti-vax, I will just don't believe in having a cert to do anything." But there you are, you want to have a cert, and yet, So yeah, they are in pretty big doo-doo now, because the investigation is, I think it should be nearing completion. So the penalties are going to be pretty harsh, actually.
Yeah. So Lisa says some of those penalties are people who lost jobs, because there were a tremendous amount of employers who, said, hey, if you're coming back to work, you're going to work for us, you have to be vaccinated. And now a lot of them have changed their vocabulary to, if we're going to hire people,
Right.
we want them fully vaccinated. Where in the past, they never asked me if I was vaccinated for polio or anything of that nature, right?
Well, here in Singapore, vaccination is compulsory for the Singaporeans at a very young age, below 1 year, 1 year old. But against, we have three. I think there are 4 vaccinations which are compulsory. So you have your rubella, you have your mumps, your German measles, and things like that. So that's compulsory under Singapore law for all babies born to Singaporeans under the age of 1 or 2. So there's no need to ask for vaccination, because they have to be vaccinated. Otherwise, the parents will be hauled up to court, because that you must provide a very valid excuse why your child cannot be vaccinated. So There's really no room to move about in Singapore for this. It's pretty straight on for that.
Yeah, I know here to get into public schools, you gotta show the vaccinations for your kids.
Yes, correct. But
Um,
for there's a check of this in the public school not only public school, in registration for schools anyway. There is a check for this, but you have to actually, if you are not, the hospital actually will keep track, and if your baby is born, you'll keep track for you for the vaccination status, and if they find that it's not fulfilled, then they'll just report it to authorities.
Yeah. Of course, Shana says, I get that at the beginning, but the dismissal of reason, censorship, and a mass media campaign was jarring. Well, here's how I would unpack that, I guess, is say it's always been there. Maybe this situation, this pandemic, opened our eyes a little bit wider to say, what perhaps we always had thought is, oh my goodness, now holy cow. And of course, with the interesting thing, here on 216 the net, we're out on social media platforms, and they have it's their company. They have the right to do what they want, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
In my 9 to 5 for the bank, I sign things saying that I won't speak to the newspapers. I'm not the media representative for my company. So
Yeah.
that means that the person who is will put the spin on however that they see fit, because well, that's the company's stance. So
Yeah.
I mean, what we did see was quote unquote censorship for false information or whatever they called it, and pulled the people's accounts and things like that. And I think to me, absolutely, that's what's jarring. Especially, that's when you take away, when you take away people's rights to speak, the wherever in the world, that's hard. That's hard for me, right?
I guess perhaps one thing that I think a large majority of people are perhaps missing the trees for the forest here is that platforms such as the social media platforms like Facebook, all these things, at the end of the day, they are private companies. They are not public services. So just because you can type anything, just because you type something on it, actually does not inherently grant you the right to be able to type anything you want on their platform. So the main issue is it's a private platform. Much as people would like to say that what Facebook is used by a couple of billion people around the world, fine, yes, true. But at the end of the day, it still boils down to a private platform. And therefore, when it comes to a private platform, I'm afraid they have every right to do whatever they deem fit in their eyes. Much as whether is it against what the public perception or opinion is. So things like Twitter, things like YouTube, Facebook, all this, the metaverse, if you want to call it. Yeah, these are actually, at the end of the day, they are still private entities. So hey, I mean, to me, it's very simple. If we feel that, if one feels that perhaps that's there's too much restriction or censorship on that, and they feel that what they do is not right, then I guess we just have to look for greener pastures out there. And there are alternatives. It's just that the alternatives are not used by 6 billion people around the world.
Yeah, right. Well, and I like what Lisa says. I don't see not getting a COVID vaccine make someone an anti-vaxxer unless you are only referring to this one vaccine. Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there who've had all the rubella,
The usual shots.
usual shots, polio, all that kind of stuff, and they just chose to roll the dice and not take this vaccine. And that's I'm okay with that. I don't have an issue with that. I don't call them anti-vaxxers.
I guess here for the group that I described earlier here, I think, look, if you don't want to take a vaccination, that's fine. I mean, you can always choose not to take a vaccine. Nobody's forcing you. The government does not send you a letter or armed policeman to your house saying that you have to go for vaccination. This is not China. But then if you don't wish to take a vaccination, then yeah, I mean, but then if you start stirring up and asking people to call the hospital helplines or the health ministry helplines to jam up their lines so that you hold them from responding to actual questions about vaccinations that people may have, then I think rightly so, you can be publicly called an anti-vaxxer because it's your own business if you don't want to take vaccination. But if you incite your group to jam hotlines and health services hotlines to prevent others from calling in and inquiring about the vaccination,
Sure.
then I think your action goes beyond what is reasonable from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
And this is what the group did, so that's why they were also slammed pretty hard on this also.
Well, sure, and the truth is, and here's what I like. Um, a lot of the people who like, you don't know what you're putting in your body, that vaccine, blah 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 blah, are the same people who poison their body, by eating, frozen dinners, and that have preservatives, drink heavily, perhaps, are addicted to painkillers. I don't know. I'm just, not all
Yeah.
of them are that way, it's interesting that the stance is, take a look and follow the science. We don't know what's in there. We don't know the long-term repercussions from this. Well, I microwave every meal, so figure that out as well. The you know it's like the people who are fighting for the LGBTQ, who get upset that people don't take vaccines and say, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. I have the right to choose my own gender. No, yeah, what happened to science? So it's interesting. Shana says another director of ethics guy was fired for taking a stand against mandates. If this was about anything other than compliance, titters would be run prior. And she says some believe corporate influence is too strong already, Amazon, etc., in order to get a bill to pass on protection against medical tyranny, that the private held companies were exempted. That's that's I mean, we here in America live in a very capitalist society, and the old saying is follow the money. Now we've created this beast, as a country, so this is what it is, and as a capitalist society, well, money wins, right?
Yeah.
And
I think I think for us being I think we welcome everybody to we welcome anybody to come to go and find out information about Singapore and how we handle the cases. But I'll just put it in a bit of perspective. So we have a population of about 5.7, okay, let's round it up to 6 million. Let's make it that we have a population of 6 million here in this small little island country. I think as of now, we have a total of, from 2 years ago to now, there's been a total of about 1.1 million positive cases.
yeah,
But the total number of deaths that we have so far from the start of the pandemic till today is only about 1,290.
yeah,
So if you work out the mathematical calculations, out of a population of 6 million, you only have 1,290 deaths. I think that's statistically a pretty strong anecdotal argument that we can make that the vaccine does work. We are about 95% vaccinated here in Singapore, 95%, and we have about 67, about 70 over percent which are on booster shot.
there you go.
So that's the rate of vaccination that we have in Singapore. I think we're among one of the highest in the world, together with the booster shot rate also. So if you work out if you look at it from pure scientific and mathematical numbers, 1,290 deaths out of 6 million is actually pretty good statistic. In fact, it's lesser than the number of deaths that we get from influenza every year here in Singapore.
Yeah. Lisa says, guys, I've declined other vaccines for myself and my girls when they were new, and I didn't see the cost benefit risk imbalance. Some of those now are major medical suits, one being the cervical cancer vaccine. There's also a difference between accountability for what you choose to do and consequences for what you are forced to accept and take the consequences. Yeah, and again, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to, and again, I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on the radio, but when it comes to medicine, when it comes to science, yeah, there's breakthroughs, and again, are there, are there major medical suits? Yep. Does it work for a lot of people? Yep. I'm not saying to run out and get it. I'm not saying that I support anyone. However, um, the interesting thing is with the human body, um, things are different between each person, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay taking Advil. My wife's allergic to it because that's her body, that's her chemistry, that's her science. So in the world of medicine, in the world of science, here you go. I've had several surgeries, right? And each surgery that I've done here in the United States is here. Who's next of kin? Because anytime you go under anesthesiology, you've got a chance of not waking up,
Yes, correct.
right? You've got you've got a 30-year-old surgeon. At some point, it's his first surgery. Yeah, there's a chance you're going to die. Somebody's cutting you open, right?
Yeah, there's a chance the surgeon is going to go, oops,
Yeah, yeah, knees. Who knows? Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they've, maybe it's like Seinfeld, and they, a junior mint. That's what it was. A junior mint falls. So you know that's science. That's what it is. And yeah, if you're comfortable or not comfortable, and again, that's your choice. And it is what it is. There, you take a look at, again, why are we suggesting this? Why are we, follow the money and see what happens? Shayna says that if it's so safe and effective, why do you use the uncensored platforms to see anything outside the approved narrative? Well, that's because you follow the money. Look at where Pfizer and biotech are at, BioNTech, or however you say that, are at. Now hey, Pfizer Stadium, Pfizer Coliseum, Pfizer at the Oscars, biotech, uh,
Yeah.
gas brought to you by Pfizer. I mean, you know, you're seeing it everywhere. Again, it's capitalist society. You follow the money, and when you're paying millions upon millions of dollars to these mainstream outlets,
Right,
you get to choose what's being said.
right.
When will we see the medical industry as the capitalist entity it has become? Well, I think a lot of people do. You know,
I think it's the same over here. We also view it as that the medical industry is a capitalism. I mean, somebody needs to pay for all the supplies. Somebody needs to pay for all the
yep,
labor. I
yep,
mean, that's a fact. It's not only medical. I think every industry is the same. So it's just a matter of to which degree and to what sort of facade that they present to you. Oh, we are humanitarian. We are here to
yeah.
save lives. Yeah, but you still have a bottom line at the end of the day.
And a lot of time us we Americans here are so focused just on America. I mean, we've
Yeah.
we've created the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, which has zero authority or reputation outside of America,
Yes, correct, correct.
right? The rest of the world turns to the World Health Organization, uh,
Correct.
and the CDC is nothing. But
The
here in
CDC over here, the CDC over here means the Chinese Development Council. It doesn't mean anything to us on
Chinese
on what.
Development Council.
Yeah,
Probably the same thing here, right? So a lot of times, we as Americans are so narrow sighted, that we don't see the big picture and things going on. Statistics, as Shana says, are critically dependent on unadulterated data. So if only some can view the numbers, aren't we taking the word of people that profit from the answer? Absolutely. And
yes,
and
yeah,
that data is dumped to support whatever it is that I'm dumping my money into, because that's what I want you to do, right? We can go back. We can go back, to when you never saw any medicine being advertised on TV and commercials. That's all you see now, right? Is you know, hey, this, if you're afraid to go out in public, take this medicine. And oh, by the way, some of the side effects are dry mouth, diarrhea, vomiting, bloody nose, bad body odor. I'm like, well, you were already scared to go out in public, and now you're a mess. You look like the Walking Dead.
I mean, it surprises me when sometimes I watch live American TV, for shows and everything here over the internet, and then they go into an ad break, and it really it really interests and surprised me the amount of medication ads that you guys run. It's just
Mhm.
incredible because it's actually illegal here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Hey, Bob says, in the absence of a vaccination program, there would have been approximately 1.1 million additional COVID-19 deaths and more than 10.3 million additional COVID-19 hospitalizations in the U.S. by November 2021. There you go. Those are big numbers. Those are huge numbers. Mary, good morning. Thanks for jumping in. Lisa says, what I'm referring to is the battle I had with doctors over the choice not to take it, but I had the right to follow my gut on it. I also have tried things not recommended. It's about instincts and choices. I think if they had not forced it how they did, that may have gotten a larger turnout. I don't, and I don't know which one you're talking about. Didn't have a large turnout, but when 70+% of the United States citizens are vaccinated, that's a passing grade, right? In school. Shana says the chemistry, especially the older studies, were done on white men. This isn't necessarily problematic, but if there is another factor, i.e., ethnic differences in receptors, for instance, that made some more susceptible to COVID, we could be missing the real issue. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of times through the WHO, and to get a medicine or a vaccine or something passed, it takes years, maybe even decades. Trial, error. What do you do? That again is why the United States created the Food and Drug Administration. We can, instead of going through the WHO, we'll take care of everything right here for the Americans. Now, let me help you out as well. You have to know that things that we do here in America are not everywhere. Do you know that Mountain Dew is not sold in Europe? In a lot of places in Europe. Why? Because of the chemicals that are put in it, have been known to create cancer. But what do people drink? You can't go a day without seeing an empty Mountain Dew bottle someplace, right? So that's where I say we as Americans are really narrow focused, and here it is. Let's talk about all of these quote unquote energy drinks that are out there, all these chemical. We're, people are drinking this. You can't pronounce half the things that are on there, and if you did, you're like, man, I think that same stuff is in my automobile, right? So the idea is, here in America, we really just don't care. Again, you go back to the money. PepsiCo is like, hey, Mountain Dew, sugar and ethanol. I don't know what's in it. And here we go. Coca-Cola, you can put your 1960s chrome bumper from your 66 Cadillac in a bath of Coca-Cola, and it'll get rid of the rust. But you're going to drink that, right? So take a look at that. Yeah, medicine commercials with side effects being what you are treating, and worse. I know, that's what I love. Absolutely.
I think they're not I think they're not medication ads. They're actually side effect ads. Actually.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Mary says, one second here in America, it's commercials about the new medication. The next, it's the lawyers' commercials asking if you want to be part of a class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
Right. And that again, follow the money, right?
That's
Attorneys.
why we avoid that here by ensuring that medication ads such as this, medication ads such as this, and lawyer ads are actually illegal, and they are not allowed on the mainstream public channel.
Yeah.
It's illegal for a lawyer actually to advertise here in Singapore.
Yeah.
It's 100% illegal.
So,
So that we don't get all what you guys. I think there's a term that you have in the US, ambulance chasers. So
yeah.
you don't get ambulance chasers over here.
Oh boy, they stand there. There's a line of them here. According to who, how do you know this is to be anything but errant computer project? And I don't know what that was. This probably earlier. 50% of the people in the U.S. never received a second dose, so are technically not fully vaccinated. And again, let's talk about the word, the meaning vaccinated, right? Um, now they're saying your booster shots only last 4 weeks. Well, why am I going to get a shot every 4 weeks? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That doesn't make sense. And again, we will go back to a lot of people don't understand the human body and how your body, your immune system works. Yeah, because we'll hear a lot of talk about antibodies, antibodies, antibodies. Well, antibodies only last for maybe 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
There you
And
go.
then they're washed out of the system.
Correct. But you have what are called T cells, and the T cells are exactly what will fight off disease or stomach viruses or things that you've had in the past. So follow the science, not that science. Yes, exactly. It is so true. Follow the science as long as it supports what I'm going to grandstand and soapbox about right now. But don't follow the science if it doesn't support what I want to grandstand about beyond my soapbox. Of course, everybody, you are listening to 21.6 Net. This is The Grounds with Giles and Jones. Giles out today, but Gary, we got him in, of course. Brought to you through the financial support of our good friends over at Reese's Barkery and Pautique. www.reesesbarkery.com, 815-363-7297. Great stuff, great food, local providers. These guys do a great job because your fur babies need to be healthy as well. So there you go. Yeah, making sense is apparently way subjective. No, it's true. It's true. It, you know, the thing is though is, and here's the amazing thing is this pandemic that we have all survived, and we, well, not all of us, but the people who've survived, we should be excited that we're on the, we're like, hey, I was part of that era, right? Your grandkids will be like, oh, I remember my grandpa, he went through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we went through it, we survived it, and the only thing missing is that we just haven't got the T-shirt to show it yet.
yeah, exactly. All I got was this stupid T-shirt. Um, but here's the interesting thing: is here we are, 2 years removed
Yeah,
from when it really started,
right.
and we're still getting caught up on these shots. Okay, um, nowhere in history do I ever remember a debate. I mean, we did talk here in America about anti-vaxxers if they were strange because they didn't want to vaccinate their kids, and how dare you send your kid who isn't doesn't have the mumps vaccine to school? Well, if your kid has the mumps vaccine, you should be fine. If their kid doesn't, that's the choice. So we did here in the past 10 years, we started getting in conversations about that, but nowhere growing up do I ever remember anybody just sitting there having discussions. And Bob, maybe you can help us out, about, hey, did you get the mumps? You didn't get the mumps vaccine. Oh my God, what are you, crazy? Yeah, mumps, so why is it that we bought into this insanity over whether it is? Look, I'm gonna look at you and I don't care. You get it, you got it. Great. If you didn't, you didn't. I don't care. It's not what I'm going to lead with. Hi, my name's Kent. I'm vaccinated. Are you? No. It makes no difference to me anyway. Right?
I think perhaps why it becomes at the forefront of discussion now, even 2 years from there, from the start of it till now, I think it's because the technology that we have now enables people to almost everybody, they just go online and talk about it, and then the old saying, what goes on the internet stays on the
Yeah.
internet, and yeah, and it's kind of like just simmering out there, and it just takes a bit of push, and it pops up right to the surface of the soup again, and then everybody starts talking about it until it sinks below, and then it pops up again. So yeah, I think it's the technology that enables it. Enables everybody, and it's not only in America; it's around the whole world. So,
Mhm.
but you're right. But some other in America, it seems to be very at the forefront of discussion, whereas here in Singapore, it's like we got other better things to talk about now. We need to move on. We need to enjoy the openings that we have already. So nobody really talks about the vaccine here in Singapore.
Yeah.
Actually, to be honest.
Lisa says on online dating sites they have a stamp for your profile that says I am vaccinated. Well, sure, and, and yeah, the bottom line is that's a hot topic right now, right? And if I want people to subscribe to my platform, right now, hey, we've even got people who are vaccinated. Come on in, right? It's only $9.99 a month. We'll find you a sweetheart,
You
right?
can make little vax babies all you want.
That's right. That's right. But to me, you know, what here's another airplane was just split in half.
Oh yeah, the DHL.
Yes, but to me, a lot more people are flying these days, and I'm like, well, let's see. One just took a nosedive a couple weeks ago over there across the pond, right? And
Yeah, in China, yes, correct.
here's another one that just split in half. At some point, people who are doing air travel might start to go, well, you know, um,
It's the law of averages. I mean,
yeah, yeah. And just like gun owners, hey, are they going to ban cars? It's safer to fly. Fewer people die from airplane deaths than they do from car deaths. You're like,
oh, yeah, statistically speaking, yeah, but there's a whole other discussion of the maths behind why
yeah.
it's inherently safer to fly than to drive.
Right, right. So, you take a look at any problem out there, but there's so many other things going on that you're just like, and here again, you know, I pray for the people in Ukraine and Russia and what's happening over there in that situation. But again, we here in America we're up in arms the first few weeks about it, like, hey, oh, Putin bad guy, and now it's like. Okay.
Well, now it's about the slap, not about the Ukraine.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, okay. You know what? Let's move on over here to Will Smith and how he, chopped his career. Or did he? Anyway, there are so many other weird things happening or fun things happening or good things happening that we could focus on. But again, because it's in Ukraine and Russia, a lot of people, unless you have family over in that area, are like, yeah, well, all right, it's another war, not here. Let's talk about stuff here in America because we want to be self-centered, and it's all about us Americans. America, you know, um, we take a look at things, and you know, um, one thing to think about is, all the people that, that are all the people that are in the, um, what's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever.
Oh yeah, Justine Maxwell. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Her accounts have not been frozen. People involved with them in the black book, their accounts have not been frozen. But we're going to freeze the daughters of Putin's accounts. you know, okay. So it's just interesting some things that are happening in the world right now that, again, this, we're still up in arms here. with the vaccines and companies and people saying, well, if you want to come to work for us, this is it. An employer has the right to do things like that as long as it's equal to everybody, right? Here in America,
Yeah.
if you're an equal opportunity employer.
Equal offending employer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it is what it is. And I myself don't read the news. Well, I read the news, I guess. I don't watch the news. I don't have cable. I haven't had cable for over 15 years. And a lot of it is just because it's all garbage, right? Do I watch shows? Sure, I stream shows, right? But the ones that I want to watch or enjoy, or a Netflix series or whatever. So I'm able to choose what I watch when I watch. I'm not programmed to, this is when I have to sit in front of the TV at 7 o'clock on Thursday, friends. So the programming that you get, half of America does what? They love Fox News. The other half of America does what? They love CNN, and they will fight against each other. And oddly enough, they're probably owned by the same people,
Yeah.
right? And they're just sitting there laughing, going, you guys hate each other, and we're making this all work that way.
And then over across the pond, we are just looking at it and going like, why are you guys so enthralled with just this news
Right.
company? Now we don't get it here in Asia. We don't get it. Like, why? I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, you listen to CNN, you listen to Fox, but do you really think Fox and CNN cares about you? But there you are, you're so up in arms for them, and
Right.
I'm waving the CNN flag, I'm waving the Fox flag, and then here in Asia we're looking at, why are you guys waving flags in the first place?
And I mean, there's been attempts to sue or censor some of the shows on these news channels,
Some of the personalities on it.
some of the personalities, and when it comes down to it, they're like, we're an entertainment. We're
Yeah,
we're not in news. This is an entertainment show.
it's an entertainment show. Yeah,
Hmm,
it's all for the ratings. I mean,
That's it.
that's the bottom line. It's just a ratings game. That's all.
Yeah, that's
NBC, CBS, ABC is just fighting for the ratings game,
yeah,
or the Nielsen ratings. I think you guys call it the
yeah.
Nielsen ratings.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. It's just it's the whole, all the roles are staged, and everybody's on it. It's just a player. It's just an actor.
That's it. That's it. Of course, you can always be a player here at 21.6 the net. And we're just a little bit quirky and funny, and and like to push envelopes and have a little bit fun pushing those envelopes. But what do you do? And who really knows? That's why I said, I put that because I was like, well, Scott and I really didn't talk about a topic, so that's why I said who really knows. But it really plays into well with with the way we're going. I mean, who really knows? The question that I always ask is, why does it make so many people? If it infuriates you, why does it infuriate you? Do you ever stop and just ask, why am I getting so mad about this? Or why does that bother me so much? And should it? Right. And if I'm spending a lot of energy and thought on it, then who
Uh,
won? And then perhaps they've won. They've done exactly what they wanted you to do.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
I started listening to a podcast, watching people digest race-charged perspectives from comic Bill Burr, and almost
Bill
fell
Burr.
out of my chair when this guy watching said in his school they only had one white student until he got to high school. I found that fascinating, and I wondered how similar my experience might be. Do people still watch the news? I don't know. Oh, and I like and Shayna, you sent me what is it, FDL fam or something like that. That's a pretty cool podcast. That guy's funny. He's pretty good. Good takes on stuff. Thank you for that. The Yeah. So the interesting thing is, uh, you know, here in America, you're either a comedian that's funny, or you're a comedian who speaks truth, and I'll blindly follow you. Right. That's
Or you're a comedian that gets slapped. Yeah.
uh, there's that one guy on there's the guy on HBO. He was a comedian. Bill Maher. Bill Maher.
Bill Maher, yes, Bill Maher.
And for the last 4 years, at 5 6 years, whatever, he had a show and he leaned hard towards the left hand side of
Yes,
things and was very, very
very liberal.
yeah, very liberal on the orange man and whatnot. Well, the interesting thing is, now he kind of got what he wanted, or the liberal people did, and now guess what his show is? Now
He now goes on. He goes full on conservative now.
yeah, yeah. So his pendulum has swung, and people are like, "Oh yeah, see, he's finally seeing the light." I go, "No, his job is to get ratings." guess
Yes,
guess what?
correct.
Guess
I
what's
mean, Bill Maher is just bending to whichever way the wind blows. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Bless you, Lisa. Make today the best day that you can, sister. Appreciate
See
you.
you, Lisa. Have a good day. Have a good weekend.
So I sit here and I say, I tell people there are some shows that I'm on where I poke the bear, I give a perspective one way or the other, and people will send me emails and question me, and I'm like, listen, as a radio station owner, my job is to draw in people. I've
Yeah.
I've got to raise my listenership, and if I can do that by being quirky or thinking one way or leaning one way or the other, then that's what I do. You know, you really want to know me? Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. Coach says you poke the bear. Who knew? He's been the bear a lot of times too. But the idea is, 21/6 in it. The reason that we put this together, DDOE Enterprises, DDOE stands for Daily Dose of Encouragement. We want people to be able to tune in and here's an opinion and not get chastised for it, not get beat up for it. We wanted to have good programming that doesn't talk about politics, that doesn't talk about the news, but we do edgy things and we can walk a tight line on that, to help people get through conversations. And like this is a show Scott and I love doing, and it started with Scott and Pete because we wanted to just let's have a show just with conversation to help move some conversations. And then after, Mary Catherine's Power Hour playlist, Pete's like, I can't think deeply after that hour. So that's when I went from the producer's booth into, into the host's position. And, because Pete's like, you got to
Yeah.
take this, Deke. I'll be okay behind the mic, but Scott wants to go deep on a lot of things, and I just can't get there after the Power Hour. Which the Power Hour is back. Power Hour playlist is back, the first and third Friday mornings of each
I
month.
need to send you a couple of playlists.
Yeah, do yeah, and I think this morning, I heard from some folks that who went out and listened live on 216net.com.
Yeah.
They said it sounded good there, so it must have just been the way that I download.
Yeah, it sounded very. I think there's some auto settings because after, when you stop speaking, the music actually rises up in volume, and after a few seconds later, it actually tapers out again to
Yeah.
a very distant sounding sound. So I suspect it's probably some auto peak setting or something. Maybe there's a auto peak setting that's detecting that when it gets above a certain peak and it cuts it off and reduces it.
Probably condenses it weird or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shayna says, I have an appreciation for people who can let comedians lift us out of toxic. What about, me, energy? Funny trumps all of it. You're right. And I don't care who you are. If it's funny, and the best comedians too, Shayna, I think, are the ones who can get their agenda across or their point without, browbeating it, and where you go, God, this was just horrible. Why didn't you just sit there? And but George Carlin was a master
It was wonderful.
at tearing anyone and everybody apart on such a carnal level that a lot of young kids now are going back and watching his YouTube and stuff like that, going, oh, this guy was this guy was deep and he's funny, which,
Yeah, I mean the other comedian that I really really like a lot, and I watch. I try to every time he has a show I watch is Don Rickles. I mean you're talking about the master of insults,
yeah,
but he does it in such a way that is that is not really in your face, but it's kind of like anyway here we go, and
yeah.
then you actually got to do a double take and realize what he just said actually.
But he attacked anybody and everybody,
Oh
he
yeah,
did.
he was an equal. He called himself an equal opportunity offender.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and then he whether you are white, black, or Mau Mau fighter pilot.
Uh, yeah, and Shanna says, as a fan, I can say what Pete brought was so intangible, especially the dynamic between the two of you. We are missing a seasoning. Yeah, yeah. You see, I'll tear up, but it was a blessing to be able to run with him for the race that I did run with him. There's not a day that goes by I don't come into the studio and first say good morning to Glenda, who is the crazy doll that he donated here, and just because I don't want her to Chucky me some morning, like, hey, you know, and
Let's play.
that's right. And yeah, Uncle Pete is he's missed dearly. And there's not a week that goes by where somebody will just stop me somewhere out in town here and just say, hey, boy, we really miss Pete. And so he made a huge impact on a lot of
Yeah,
people's lives.
correct.
Yeah, I saw Rickles clip that would get. Oh man, he would. Yeah, today, Rickles would
He will be cancelled.
Hey, we're right on the back end of this, a little bit over, but when you own the station, you can do whatever you want to do. Gary, thanks for jumping on this morning.
No
As
problem.
always, absolutely appreciate you. Scott, we know you're out there and you're busy and you're leading life and you're happening to life. So keep going, brother. He'll be back next week, I'm sure. And let's just have a good time. Come back in about a half hour for bridging civil tension, because there is a lot of tension out there, to be civil. For all of us here at 21.6 to the net, again, Gary, thanks so much all the way from Singapore.
No
Jumping on
worry.
this evening. Absolutely appreciate and love you, brother.